qualifying, if I'm not one of those two. I couldn't remember if it was just
losers,
outside.
yeah, went into losers bracket from went into top 8 from the losers bracket. Yes.
Right. So that was one of those. Both of these players are going to be fiending for their revenge. Of course, going to have to fight Lima in order to get there, if they even make it that far, right? Both of these players fighting for that opportunity.
We'll see who gets off to the hotter start. We might be buckling in for a longer set here because these two are choosy with where they want to get things started. And Peeb especially, you're going to see if he does not have some kind of special projectile out, he's probably not going towards you.
Right. He does a good job of setting up before he goes in, and Mute as well. When Mute will hit you, it'll be an awful lot of damage. It'll take you for a ride, but when he is waiting for the opportunity, it is a lot of dancing around in neutral and waiting for that perfect hit, as opposed to just swinging for the fences.
So far through this first stock, we've seen sort of exactly what we expect, right? Muteace getting off to that damage lead, but still, you know, the old adage of Peach needs to win by 2, right? Needs to get that last definitive hit that is sometimes elusive. And meanwhile, Peabnut, just that slow and steady damage racking up. Look at these empty short hop fastballs from him just to make up that space and threaten the pellets, because if Muteace uses his float and then gets hit by that pellet, he's going to have to make really quick adjustments to make sure that he's not caught without his resources.
Absolutely. And so far, the movement between, oh my God. That up air has constantly been a big pressure tool Peabnut uses. It's great at poking the shield, does a lot of shield damage even if not, and of course ready for the follow-ups.
Peeb is playing at light speed. I would not be surprised if his controller is smoking by the end of this set, because this Mega Man is just zipping around the stage, and Mute's honestly having a hard time making space away from him to get anything like a turnip in hand or just set up a zone for spacing. I was talking earlier about Peeb needing his projectiles. Forget that. Max Rage, 42% with the fully charged down smash off of the shield break. Peeb is not just cooking, he's running an entire restaurant.
Still surviving at 211% and no sign of slowing down right now. This man is a machine.
Peabnut and Kalahari tournaments, you can't name a better duo, and he's willing to let that Crash Bomber just go away. Muteace, though, he knows about that, tossing the Metal Blade to get rid of the Leaf Shield. He's able to get his punish afterwards, and he's got a Mr. Saturn in hand, so perhaps he could pay Peeb back in kind for that shield break.
Leave him alone. Mr. Saturn is not a factor right now in the match, but Peeb is looking to make it so.
This is huge, actually, because, yeah, Peeb gets to hold on to Saturn. He can throw out that Leaf Shield. He wants it actively, but he got
a little bit of a bonk. A lot of damage, but very unsafe, so Muteace able to find a follow-up here. But man, sitting down 100%, not exactly healthy against the Blue Bomber.
Oh, and you got to look out. Yeah, Mute's going to say, all right, you already committed to that. I'm floating right on over you. Then just juked him out, went back to the ledge, and Peeb looking for any opportunity to just close out this game one, because I think that anybody who has ever played against Mute, particularly at the highest level of the game, will tell you the longer the set goes on, the more it's going to jeopardize the rest of your tournament run, because Mute is not afraid to play those 6-minute games.
Absolutely not. Yeah, definitely one for the long game, where if you are going to fight the game of attrition, you really have to commit to it.
I was talking to Doorstop earlier today, and he said, you know, I woke up with a little bit of a headache, and Muteace going to have one himself as he gets launched into the top blast zone by that air shooter for that first game to end in Peeb's favor. But back to what I was saying about Doorstop, he said, you know, I woke up today with a little bit of a headache, and then I had to play Mute, and my headache is definitely worse after that. Because he makes you think, right? He puts your brain into overdrive. You've got to constantly be thinking about the 9 million things that he can do, because he can unlock every bit of potential that that character has.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to push you to the limits. I feel like, you know, from a card game player perspective, not to tangent too much, but I feel like Mute is the type of player who will play it as safe as possible, as long as possible. You might see game on board, but there is like a 0.2% chance that something goes wrong if I swing out right now. So I'm going to wait and set up my play, take 2 more turns, because I know that I can make it happen safely. That's what Muteace's like hallmark is.
Taking those extra turns is not something that you're afraid to do as Mega Man, because you have all of those tiny little interactions that you can win, especially, you know, with those lemons. I wouldn't call hitting him with a jab or with a forward air, right? I wouldn't call that winning an interaction for Mega Man, but what it does do is it just resets things. Sometimes it even forces a scramble, and those are situations where Peeb thrives.
Here we go. Wow, I'm shocked Muteace finally had the turnip to start things, but not to finish them. Peeb scrapping out of this corner. Finally, Muteace just trading blows back and forth. Nobody can hold a position on the stage for more than a moment.
I would like to officially fully rescind what I said earlier at the beginning of the set about Peeb not going in if he didn't have a projectile available to him. He is holding forward against Muteace and saying, my stuff takes control of the stage, and you're going to be the one that has to deal with this boss fight. And so far, Mute has had a difficult time doing it. Peeb really laying on the pressure thick.
A big forward air to buy space once again for Mute off the corner. Has to respect, oh my goodness. Had to respect the crash bomber, but manages to find the hit, push Peabnut off stage. Can we see a first stock dropped?
Oh, well, was willing to take that crash bomber, but Mute had the timing ready so that the turnip reset it instead of giving Peabnut the opportunity to go high, and ended up getting the stock off of it too. Really great quick adaptations for Mute to take that first stock.
Trying to down smash fast enough to cover the lack of invincibility at 100%. You running out very quickly, but good on Muteace to pick an option quick.
Oof. Dude, I'm telling you, Peeb is just, he's like a jackrabbit right now. He is all over the screen playing Mega Man at absolute top speed. And honestly, it's crazy that Mute has been able to slow him down at all with Peach, who can't really contend at that mid-range unless she has a turnip available to her. But Peeb, great recognition. Again, that Crash Bomber, I think there was a PG Stats video a while back where I think Last was doing the VO on it, talking about just, man, if Peeb has a Crash Bomber out, you're in trouble. That is what makes his gameplay tick, and that is where stocks end. Absolutely.
You're either stuck in shield in a very bad position, or you're jumping around trying to avoid it, and next thing you know, you've got a hitbox in your face.
Great by Mute to mash out that Nair, knowing he had enough frames available to catch that dot eyes before Peabnut could get anything huge going with it. I mean, otherwise, honestly, these percentages could be looking pretty even. Peeb can do a lot of damage off of those item toss combos. You've seen him do it with the metal blades and stuff before, but now sitting at 159, it's just going to be a back air, forward air, any of that away from Muteace taking the lead if he can land one.
Yeah, Peabnut doing his darndest to continue applying pressure at a range where he does not have to fear that crown coming down. A lot of these pellets, metal blade, and the forward air as well, but now having to maneuver through the turnip, does get to grab it with that air dodge.
Yeah, the early air dodge too. A lot of people would wait until they're closer to the stage to throw out that air dodge, mix up the timing, but Peeb knew, right? Can't let that turnip hit you or it's curtains at 183, which is where he's sitting now. But with this much rage, we saw him do it earlier. You can take those stocks extremely early as Mega Man, and he's going to go for it again. I love the idea of the Z drop back here. He covers so many things all at once.
Somehow, Muteace manages to thread the needle through all of it. Back on stage, Peeb now up to 180%, but still holding on.
Wow.
With an opportunity to build a lead for himself. He had the right idea with the roll, but not quite positioned properly, but no punish came through, still fighting on the same stock.
And honestly, all it takes now is one back air, and Peeb's gonna try to cover as much area as he can to look for it. Metal Blade still in hand to set up for a combo, and that's definitely gonna do it. Mute sends him to the sky with the frying pan, but boy, Peeb really said extra credit, I don't know her.
Absolutely. This is a back throw maybe away, not quite without any rage, but you know, just about any of Mega Man's strong aerials are going to take this into the next stock. And with as hard as Muteace had to fight for that second one, Peabnut's got a lot of life left to live here.
Ooh, throwing down the Metal Blade, didn't get anything started, and again, the up smash whiffing, trying to call out the movement from Muteace, but he stayed grounded, stayed firmly on foot. And that means Peeb is sitting at a high amount of percentages, thinking that the back throw might be able to do it, but Mute also playing beautifully around that grounded game.
Okay, I love the pressure of the up air and then chasing the roll afterwards as well, knowing Muteace wouldn't be content to sit there and shield and get grabbed for a back throw.
Ooh, he was looking for the Kome stuff. I've got flashbacks to Smash 4, looking for the Z drop Metal Blade into the down air, but not quite able to rack up that big damage. And again, it's going to be a mountain for Peeb to climb on this last stock with somebody whose defense is as solid as Muteace. As the clock ticks down, under 2 minutes remaining in the game. If he wins, it could be down to single digits.
That That time is not often something that I point out as a factor here, but genuinely, as long as it took Muteace to take that last stock, and as hard as Peabnut is having trouble getting in, not quite. I was gonna say it could be a factor, but not quite here.
I did see in the chat, by the way, I said Kome. I did mean Kameme when I was talking about Mega Man. Or back in the day, Kamemushi, the full name. Yeah, but Muteace getting that win, going to take a second to recuperate. The set sitting at 1-1, grabbing himself a sip. I also want to point out, by the way, I know you all have heard that Splatoon crowd in the background. That has been a super hype tournament all week, and there they go. They're getting started on another match.
Almost as if on cue, but it wasn't. They were just
but
really
it wasn't.
excited.
They were not listening to me. They don't care what I got to say. But I do want to point out how sick that tournament has been, because Low Tide City is consistently one of the biggest Splatoon tournaments of the year. And this year it was 79 teams entered for Splatoon. That's 316 entrants. And I mean, the crowd has been into it. I think I see like 330 people sitting in that crowd. So if you hear them in the background getting loud, you know they're having a good time. And that means double the fun, because we're still in it here. Muteace and Peabnut going to game number 3, and it nearly got off started hot.
Yeah, Peabnut going for the double dip, but not quite getting everything that he wanted on his chip. Muteace holding strong, 42%. With a near-death experience, that'll just invigorate you.
And Mute definitely realizes, all right, I got to focus in. I got my break. I got my water. I'm no longer thirsty, but got to stay hungry for that win. These two trading percentages in the first 30 seconds of the game. And, 30 seconds, not much of the game if this whole set has been anything to go off.
Right. If it's been any indicator, a little awkward visual there with the
yeah, if it goes,
bomb.
sometimes Crash Bomber, it doesn't like deflect off of shields the way that like a charge shot would or something.
Right.
So it just ends up continuing to go straight but slowly, and also not there.
Yeah, goofy little pretend object on the screen. Beautiful parry, double up into that up tilt, finally finding a clean connection.
He went to Street Fighter 6 and said, I'm going to go look at these basketballs real quick. Peabnut definitely on top of things there. Good recovery around the turnip as well, but still needs to find his way down to the ground. You see him using a lot of that down air, even when Muteace isn't particularly anywhere close to being directly under him, but the threat of that move is so huge. Not because he's going to get like a huge combo off of it or anything, but because if you shield it, Peab is plus.
Yeah.
That move is crazy, crazy good if it lands on you or your shield. So why not throw it out? Force somebody to respect it.
Exactly. I think Muteace without a jump here, but able to still manage to get around the forward smash. And now it is Mute's combo, 60%. Like you said, got to respect that down air coming through. That is just forward air after forward air. They are flying.
You got to respect the flame sword as well. But man, I mean, Mute has been spacing around it beautifully. Now he says, okay, let me just take a second up here. Mega Man can't really do anything to me while I'm chilling up in the skies, so I'll just observe. Got AWACS Muteace on the case.
Yeah. Love it. Muteace sometimes takes a second to breathe and says, I just don't want to be fighting anybody right now.
I just want to think, oh my, woohoo! That was like a Mario Party minigame.
Absolutely.
Who's going to blow up the Bowser head?
Oh, where'd he go?
He blew up the Bowser head.
Unfortunate for him. Should not have picked purple.
Oh, but right back into it. He said, run it back. I got this. Indeed, he does. Down to one stock apiece. This one certainly not in any threat of going to time, which means these two might be slugging it out more than we saw in that last game.
Good percent off of the leaf shield, but a good retort from Muteace as well. Neither player really letting these advantages last very long. Retreating back to that corner. He is active with this. Sheesh.
Yeah, I love that up air as a shield pressure tool, right? Does a ton, opens you up for shield pokes especially as well, right? It starts at the bottom, goes all the way up, but obviously very hard to land because you have to be directly on top of your opponent and then get close to the ground as well. They have to really be respecting your landings for that to happen.
Right, absolutely. And Peach has oodles of options to not respect that landing with Nair and back air as well. But Peabnut has been landing high with those leaf shields to try to kind of build that respect.
He does choose to land on stage, ends up being a big punish for Muteace, but knocked back by those pellets, which up close really starting to result in some significant knockback, letting Peabnut take control of the stage. But there we see, again, Mute playing really, really well around these Metal Blade tosses, not been letting them be the huge combo starters that they really can be for Mega Man.
He, again, playing from about as far as he possibly can, threatening with the lemons at max range.
Does need to find his way back on stage, showing off exactly what Muteace did earlier as well, right? I'm going to land on stage. I'm not going to worry about you throwing out that projectile because I've got those item tosses. I play around with them too. But the back air covering the getup, predictable timing from Muteace does have him losing that game. And both of these players stone-faced as we go into game number 4. It's been back and forth, but they're locked in.
Absolutely. Both just ready for the next interaction. Because, you know, between these two, it is a constant cycle of adaptations they got to go through.
Both players, you know, really well thought out in their game plans, but also really, really big adapters. They're very observant players. I think that really shines, you know, when you watch them in a matchup like this where there's so much information to take in back and forth. And you'll notice, hey, there was something that was working out really well game 1. Why aren't we seeing it anymore? Because they're preemptive enough to know that I trust this guy to see that I'm going for these combos. I'm going for a lot of crash bombers, a lot of metal blades to open things up on the ground. He's not going to let me do that. I need to be a little bit trickier in how I'm applying those. All right, big damage here from Muteace to carry Peeb into the corner. He's going to try to just hang out under that platform, which does make some of those approaches from Peeb awkward. You don't get as many metal blade angles to, again, try and go for those setups with different spaces. But now 75%, and it's been largely unanswered. Mute looking solid to start off this game 4.
No fear of the crash bomber. Peabnut using that as a bit of a smoke screen to get out of the fire, but right back into it. Muteace continuing this pressure.
Oof, my goodness. The spacing is so precise from these two on their recoveries. We've seen it so many times, but coming off the ledge, not enough. And Mute does have a stitch in hand, which honestly could be worse for him if Peeb is able to play around it, but he is also being extra cautious. You see that movement no longer as precise as it was when you have to worry about 35% out of the blue.
Oh yeah, you got to be quaking in your boots when you're staring down that bench.
It has slowed down. That is the threat of the Stitch Face, man. And now that it's gone, Peeb can get right back to schmoovin'. But not if Muteace has anything to say about it. He says, oh, you want to get in my face? I'm already there with the hitboxes out. Now you respond.
Look, the scary thing wasn't the vegetable. It was the princess holding it. Now you got to be respectful of me, please.
Turnips don't kill people. I kill people with turnips.
God, and I feel like that is one thing that, you know, to note between these two players. I feel like movement has been a hallmark kind of in both of their plays, but you can point it out from Mute in particular. That's always been something that Mute brings to the table. But as a character like Mega Man, your goal is to stifle movement as much as possible. That's what your archetype is built for. So that is another reason why it is constantly just a battle for these two to move at all, right?
Yeah, definitely if you can get locked down. But again, you know, don't want to besmirch the movement that Peanut has been showing off himself, right? I mean, yeah, Mute can take control of a certain area, but Mega Man definitely has the tools to kind of bust down the front door or get in there. And you can see right there, taking it slow, backing off. Now the Mega Buster to get himself stage control, turning around to throw that Metal Blade, but was not ready for the confirm. A little bit too far. But Mute not ready for the ledge trump, and Peeb, it's a little bit sloppy, but he did get the back air where he needed it to take the lead, and now one stock away from knocking out one of the top seeds of the tournament.
Absolutely.
Oh my! That, he actually shot it out of midair. That was a flat cannon.
That is an interaction that I have now witnessed in the game. Forward air.
I thought we were playing Smash, not Duck Hunt.
You know, there's a lot of different games that you play within the game of Smash.
Sometimes it's Mario Party.
Yeah.
When Rob does a down throw and you're like, okay, chance time.
But here we are back to the solid fundamental neutral between these two. It is again a movement battle. And right now Mute looking pretty poised. I feel like this is the largest lead we've seen so far in this set.
Yeah, Peeb definitely has been uphill in this game number 4. And, you know, we even saw it, you know, even 2 stocks apiece, but Muteace just had those big openings, right? And, you know, Peeb, as good as his gameplay, as good as his movement has been, right? It hasn't been the most traditional stuff that's been taking the stocks, especially here in this game, right? And he's had to kind of scrap for whatever he can get, but Muteace is just not letting him have the big hits.
And he's just slowly drift his way back down, stole the metal blade. Vegetables now as a threat.
With the slow walk up.
How brave do you have to be?
That looked like that was out of Street Fighter. That was just the walk up on Oki. Am I going to throw loop you or not?
Yeah. Ooh, the back air clipping and
nice.
sending Muteace to a last stock. If we could see Peeb go crazy, we could see it end here in game 4, but he's really going to have to fight through the fortress to make it happen.
There's no more scrapping available to him, right? And that's what it's been. It's been a little bit of a slobber-knockery, scrappy game from him in this one because Mute's gotten out to that early lead just like that, right? You have to do whatever you can to get around him, but it does need to be fully focused gameplay here at the end. Went for a down air to go for a ledge trap, but Peach Power always tough to contest. 167%. We've seen him live at these percents, and he will continue to.
He is living for so incredibly long. Forward throw is going to do it, and I wasn't sure. I really genuinely wasn't sure.
Toad did not look like he wanted any part of that either. He was like, "You're throwing me, oh man, again."
I can't believe you've enlisted my services for this once more.
All the way at 200, I shouldn't even be part of the equation. But that is what this set has been, right? Peeb has been playing hard to get Muteace. Again, if there's one person that is able to hang on to a thread like nobody else in this entire scene of Smash Ultimate, it's Muteace. He will be fighting tooth and nail to the very end, and that is where we are. It is game 5. It is the time to decide who will be going against Lima in losers finals. Will it be Peabnut, who's been playing against him a lot recently over in North Carolina, or will it be Muteace, who played against him a lot just a few months earlier?
Right, absolutely. And both of these players, as a reminder, after they fight Lima, they're certainly going to want to beat him because they want their opportunity to rematch Dabuz, who put both of these players in losers bracket. Dabuz waiting on winner's side grand finals.
Yeah, he has been clean. That is why players who have been as good as these two are in the losers bracket, like you mentioned. But Mute, the one that over the course of this set has really been adapting to how Peanut has been trying to get things opened up. But nonetheless, Peeb is still the one sitting at 140. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean he's at a dangerous percent yet. He's just got to play it nice and slow.
And like you said, Peach has to win by 2. That forward air kills many other characters. 156 at the ledge when it connects, but not quite enough, as it turns out.
It's going to be a tough battle for Peeb, honestly. 156 now. Has built up some damage, but doesn't really have any major confirms available to him yet. Let's jump back air with all this rage. Could do it. The Metal Blade into the back air as well. Getting very close, but again, not quite in the perfect position. So Muteace does still get to hang on himself.
Okay, Bing chilling, got the back air connecting.
156. Peeb was able to get to that first stock, but Muteace firing back in kind. This is where we want to see that game 5 looking like, right? These two are now battling head to head. They've made their adaptations. Now it's time to stick to your guns and do something effective. And that is where Peeb is at, but a little bit too late to throw out those back airs. That active hitbox will get Muteace back safely.
Big hit from the dot eyes is going to bring Muteace right back into this even percents, and now drifting in Mute's favor. But it is, again, neither player really getting too much off of this advantage, constantly scrapping back and forth. No player is able to hold an edge for very long. Mute has an opportunity for ledge trap, but the pellets fight right through it.
Yeah, being very aggressive in the way that he's gotten back on stage a few times. That time too aggressive. Mute calling out that jump has Peeb on tournament stock. And this is where Mute many a time has just slowed the game down to see if you're going to be the one to crack first. You see him now, you're at that platform, that means I'm at this one. Come to me.
Absolutely. Chilling, trying to set up one of these projectiles, like you mentioned, before going in and getting anything done.
Mega Man, always a character that, just is not necessarily a zoner, but he does struggle with some of those problems, right? He needs his setups, and he does have some trouble getting in on people with those big setups, but covering all of that aerial drift does find his magical setup, and it is Game 5, final stock in losers semis, and Peeb gonna be the one to get a small opening to get things started.
Here we go, not for long. Muteace putting a quick 50 on him, pushing him to the corner. How does he get out? Starts to go for that leaf shield. No connection.
Ooh, there's that downer. That's why it locks down so much space. We talked about it earlier. And that Crash Bomber, all the Peabnut hallmarks coming out here in the final stock. The Infinity Stones are coming together, neighbor.
Absolutely. It feels like Peeb has activated and is moving 100 miles an hour now.
Back to what we saw at the beginning of the set, but only one of these two can move on. And it might just come down to who gets that next big opening. If you can get something started with a turnip in hand, then Peeb could be in trouble. But now with all this rage, might get even tougher. But great movement gets him back on stage in a ledge trap of his own. Man, just it's so close, it's so tight.
And downer used to get all the way to the other side again. Peabnut sitting just out of range. Oh, turnip bops. We have a ledge trap opportunity. And the bread is made here. The forward air connects, but not quite finishing your food.
The down air, and yeah, Peeb did not have the distance, inches away from keeping the game alive, but Mute with one clutch forward air closes it out, and Peeb, as hard as he fought that entire set, not able